I have explained to you pretty regularly that when I'm giving seminars and I'm interacting with clients, coaching clients on a regular basis, themes emerge, and it's really fascinating how a similar situation can happen with 3 different clients in a week, but that particular circumstance isn't something that happens ever with any client. So I know that oftentimes my coaching practice helps for the universe to message me about different topics and themes that are arising, and helps me to ponder it. Because when I do see something once, twice, 3 times, I get more curious about why is this appearing so frequently, and I do pay more attention to what can we do about it, because in most cases it's something that is challenging to the clients, which is why they're bringing it up. But what can we do about it? It's not enough to just notice it and identify it. It's better if we can find some kind of a solution. This particular week or so, I've had a lot of clients who are experiencing challenges, legal challenges, and it's happening in interesting ways. And it's not hugely dramatic. In a couple of cases it is, and it's more than 3. It's probably like 6 or 7 right now. And it is as small as a red light camera ticket.
Oh my God. I literally got 13. 13. 13.
Do I hear 14?
I didn't know about it, and I haven't got a ticket since the day I found out about it, but my mom told me about it, and then the whole entire 2 weeks, every day I got a ticket.
And let me guess, you were going right on red, right?
No, it was the speed cameras at the school zone.
And I was going to say, the other one was the double
if it works in
camera.
Nassau, yeah. Making money.
But they'll have it. Depending on when you got them, they have forgiven some of them, so you got to watch where you. What's that?
I'm hoping on it.
All right. Well, no, but if you, I give you my number. I know somebody at the Parking Lot Violations Bureau, so if you need help with it.
Hey, whatever I can do.
I was meant to be
Bringing
here.
people together.
Told you. Now you'll definitely do your holiday shopping here.
There are
so
no coincidences.
no. A coincidence is a purposeful intersecting of events. So like I said, it's as simple as red light camera tickets and school zones, but I've had a couple that have really complex legal issues, a few that have arisen with very complex issues with divorce and custody issues. It's just these last 2 weeks have been almost like every other client that I'm speaking with has something going on with the legal system that they're looking for some insight into. And so I've been thinking about this a lot, and we all know my map of what the world looks like, but there's one particular drawing I haven't drawn up here in many, many months. So I'm going to remind people of this because it'll help to put into context an explanation of what it is that a lot of people are experiencing right now. I know I haven't drawn this here in a really long time. Everyone understands the concept that's built out in the book Begin Here, that we are born with an innate vibrational energy. And that vibrational energy is a composite of everything that we have experienced since the inception of our souls. So just like the stars in the sky, every star is radiating with a different energy. Every soul radiates with a different energy. And it's not one is better or worse. It's just, what have you done in your journey? What have you experienced, witnessed, imagined, created? What have you experienced in the whole, and how has that affected your personal vibrational energy? So when you're born here, when you land on Earth, you have a radiant energy that is very much like a star in the sky. It could be a smaller radiant energy, or it could be that you're one of those souls that, you've been at this quite a bit, you've amassed a lot of radiant energy, and you land here like this. And just as a star or a sun, your rays are going to reach much farther if your radiant energy is stronger. So if you happen to have a high vibrational energy, what you put out there into the universe is going to reach more people. The ripples that you put out there are going to affect more energies of people that are having a human experience. If you're a newer soul and your rays are only going this far, you're still going to capture those within the reach there, but it might not have as much of a ripple effect yet. But then what happens is, as we get indoctrinated into being human, there's this secret code here that we are not souls, that we are these human things, and being human is really, really, really hard, and life is negative, and you are one big open pore waiting to grab a disease or a disharmony, and real love never happens, and you're always going to be poor and struggling. You get indoctrinated into all of that. And so you get a lot of masks and layers along the way of mistruths that make you misperceive reality, and you forget the soulful knowledge that you were born with. So as you accumulate those masks and layers, you come into adulthood vibrating at a level of awareness that's much smaller than what you were born with. So as we're going through this journey of remembering, and we're practicing tools to reconnect us with our soul, we are peeling these masks and layers back and getting back to the radiant energy that we were born with. In partnership with removing the ideas that separate us from the truth that we can have abundance and harmony in every area of our life, we also work on the process of loving ourselves again. Because I guarantee that everybody in the room was not supported by at least one person who didn't appreciate them or value them, or may have criticized them, or may have neglected them, or may have abused them. But most of us have been exposed to that from a lot of different areas by people that were doing the best that they can, but that they didn't know any better, that they could just love and appreciate and value you for exactly who you are. Very few people grow up being completely embraced by the world around them, a world that will constantly support and reiterate the value and the power of that individual. So our masks and layers are also created by the world not reflecting back how awesome we are. And the more we get a reflection back that we are not all that we could be or all that we were born with, the more we're going to take that on as a mask and a coat as well. So in addition to getting rid of the false ideas that we can't have harmony or happiness, we have to get rid of those mistruths that we are not enormously powerful and incredibly awesome. So wherever we are on the spectrum of what our operating level of awareness is different than your innate vibrational energy. Wherever you are in that journey is going to be a consequence of what you've experienced, the imprint that society and your loved ones and friends and experiences, how it has impacted you. So you might have been an enormously high radiant energy at birth, but you could have had the crummiest of childhoods where no one was valuing you, or you never got to have a voice, or no one thought you were important, or no one allowed you to play or be you or be an individual or explore or experiment or thought you had a good idea. So what will happen is you're going to come into adulthood with a pretty low level of awareness. You can build that up by working on all of these practices and techniques to reconnect you with your soulful knowledge, but it's a journey. So on Earth, what we have in any given moment is a spectrum of the level of awareness of people. And it looks more like this. I mean, the range is so incredible. But ultimately, if you have an incredibly compromised vibrational energy, your level of awareness is going to make you very much a human, 100% human, okay? 100% human means you have no regard for life, you have no regard for yourself, you have no regard for animals or plants or ideas or concepts or beauty or love. You just have no regard for any of these things. And that's about as human, indoctrinated into the human form as you can possibly be. And then, as you develop, you get those masks and layers off your back, you start to radiate closer to your innate vibrational energy. And there's this intensely magnificent point, the 50% mark, when you are 50% human and 50% soul. Above the line, above the 50% mark, you move into being a person on Earth who, in aggregate, contributes more than they take. When you're below the 50 mark, you take more than you contribute, aggregately. You are a consumer when you're below the 50 mark. You are a creator when you're above the 50 mark. And I keep saying the word aggregate because it doesn't mean that someone who's vibrating down here, or the level of awareness is really low, isn't doing something really grand and helping and putting good ripples out there. But they might be putting good ripples out in a particular arena, but then on their way home from doing it, they're tossing litter out the window. They're going home and yelling at their kids. They're not loving themselves. They're being angry and tense and unhappy. Even if they are in that corridor of contributing something, the aggregate of the whole of the body of their lives is consuming, taking positive energy away from the earth rather than leaving positive energy on the earth. Does that make sense? So what's happening right now in this huge period of accelerated enlightenment is that we're moving toward the day when there's more energy living above the 50 mark than below the 50 mark. And I very clearly always say energy, and I don't say people, because an energy that's vibrating like this, a person that's vibrating at that radiant energy, do you know how many little tiny peas we can put in there? So this person up here can be eclipsing the consuming energy of an awful lot of people who are living 100% as human, right? And so what they're doing is what it is that they're creating or contributing is going to neutralize what all of those other people on Earth are consuming and taking. But we're at a threshold. Any day now, between now and 2020, the energy above the line is going to be greater than the energy below the line for the first time in modern history. Not for the first time in history, but for the first time in modern history. And that's a game changer. Everything will change. Because when you have more energy above the line, there'll be fewer places for people who are living in darkness to hide. You're going to have to really have an intention to hide in the dark, to stay in the dark. Because everywhere you go, people will be happy and singing and making good suggestions about the bad stuff that's happening to you, and you're not going to be able to avert it anymore. There's going to be fewer people commiserating with you or trying to top the drama that you have. There's going to be less ignorance. So what's going on with the legal run-ins lately, is that institutions, teams, organizations, and companies also have levels of awareness. And the lower the level of awareness that institution has, the greater negative impact that institution will have. The more it will consume, and the less it will create or contribute. So right now, and this is not meant to be judgmental, it's an observation. Right now, in the whole, our government is consuming more than it is contributing. Therefore, what it's taking away is positive energy. It has to be fueled by something. So it's consuming positive energy. And it's doing ways that are seeping into day-to-day life. If you get a ticket and it's from a camera, it creates a stress, and it creates a feeling of agitation, and it creates a feeling of helplessness and powerlessness. But it's not just getting the ticket in the mail, it's also driving everywhere all the time. That anxious energy stays with you. When you see a school, you're gripping the steering wheel tighter. When you're at a traffic light, huh?
Is that I go 2 miles per hour.
So it's not only the direct consequence of this insidious hold, it's also just how it's making us feel, how it's making us respond, how anxious it's making us feel. And the thing about it is that after 9/11, when Americans got very, very afraid that they were going to be blown up, we gave liberal permission to the government to do anything that it is that they choose to do. We have basically signed over the equivalent of a blank deed to our lives to the government. And the only way that that's going to shift back so that we can increase the level of awareness of the government is that we take small actions. The action may or may not be directed exactly toward the government or to any particular agency. It could be just conversations that we have, social conversations that we have. Believe it or not, people who work in the government, they actually shop in grocery stores and they go to banks and their children get educated in public schools. So eventually, they're going to hear the things that the people who are living above the line are talking about. It's going to accidentally reach them. And little by little, they're going to have nowhere to hide. They're not going to have a support group if they're behaving the way that they are choosing to behave. So eventually, everyone will have to step up to fit into the evolution of our own society. But in the meantime, until that happens, it's really important that you take whatever actions you can take on a regular basis. You know, if you have the power to take a photograph of a place that you got a parking ticket and show that the signs were not complete and you were not at fault, take the photos, send them in, and get out of the ticket. It's not just about getting out of the ticket. It's a conversation you're having about what you will and will not accept. But you have to have that conversation often about what you will not accept. And have it as often as you can have it. That's the only way that you're going to get a shift to happen. And I'm going to demonstrate this in a story. When my mother-in-law, she lives in a neighborhood, and I have, ever since my father-in-law died, I've kind of like taken it on myself to just kind of keep like an extra eye on her. There's certain things that I'm like the go-between between the wolf and the sheep, right? I'm the one that steps in and says, wolf, back off. So there's a few incidents that have happened, but one in particular was in between her house and the next house is the school bus stop. So the kids play there. There's elementary, then middle, and high, and all that. And on her property, she has this nice bed of flowers, and she has this beautiful antique wine press that was handed down from generations and generations, and it's this beautiful setting. And a little first grader from across the street, wasn't standing at the bus stop, but every morning he would come in and play on her property, just, dance in the flowers and jump on things and whatever. And so one day he was standing on this antique wine press, and the wine press collapsed. I mean, what kind of homeowner doesn't make sure of the structural integrity of their antique wine press 2/3 of the way up their front yard? I have no idea. So anyways, so the kid falls, and he gets stitches, he breaks his arm.
Oh, geez.
So
They sued her, right?
yeah. Even I get baffled sometimes, right? Okay, so I'm like, what do I do, right? And so I'm like, all right, well, I find out the guy's last name, the homeowner, the father of this boy, and I look up his home phone number and I call. I'm like, you don't know me, but this is who I am. Would it be okay if I stopped by and had a little conversation with you? And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I go to his house and I have a conversation with him. Now, meantime, he has a wife and he has a little boy and a little girl. And I don't know what kind of energy I brought into the house, but I could hear the rest of the family stacked on the stairs in the hallway listening to what was going on in the kitchen. I could hear them. The wife, the son, and the daughter, they're stacked on the steps, okay? So I'm at the kitchen table having this conversation with him, and I'm like, did you ever consider a different approach than, suing my mother-in-law? And he's like, no, we don't know what's going to happen in the long run. Is he going to need plastic surgery? What if he's playing sports in high school and he's got some kind of injury with that arm? I don't know what's going to happen down the road, what kind of medical things he's going to get into, blah, blah, blah. So I said, did it ever occur to you that this happening was a great opportunity for you to model a behavior to your son that you might not have modeled as his parent and as his guide? Like, did it ever occur to you that you might suggest that he respect someone else's property? Did it ever occur to you that you might tell him that there are limits and that there are boundaries and that there are ways that we respect other people's personal space? And he's like, no, he fell, it happened. She has homeowner's insurance, it's no big deal. So this went back and forth for quite a while, and he finally said to me, he was getting mad at me. I was kind. I really was kind. Please, let me back up. I did the whole, how is he, blah, 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 blah. I did it all. I might have even brought him candy, but I didn't. So he gets pissed off at me, and he's like, I'm telling you, everyone I speak to tells me that I should sue. Everyone. And I'm like, I said, you're probably right. I said, if you spoke to 100 people, 99 of them are going to tell you to sue. Which one of those people do you want to be? Do you want to be the 99 or do you want to be the one? And I could feel him. I think he muttered F-U-C-K under his belt, under his mouth. And meanwhile, I could hear the wife pulling the kids back upstairs, and so he's like, I don't know, let me think about it. So he's like, I'll let you know, and I left. I left my phone number with him. Never heard from him again from that day. I left. I found out later that he withdrew the lawsuit.
Oh, wow.
He withdrew the lawsuit. Wow. And so, what if he didn't? It doesn't matter. I still planted a seed. I don't even care if it was his son or daughter that picked it up, or his wife. I didn't even care if his wife came in after I left and said, you are a bastard. She is right. What the hell's the matter with you? I didn't care what happened. I just wanted something to happen that was different. Could I have stayed home? Could I have just helped her through the lawsuit and helped her through the legal bit of it? Could I have even given her some money? I could have done anything else, but I knew that any other thing that I could have contributed would have been finite. And the only choice I felt that I had was to do something that I didn't want to do it. It wasn't like I wanted to do it. I was very uncomfortable doing it. But I did it, and I got myself out of my safe zone. I did it on behalf of somebody that I love, so that gave me a little bit more courage and a little bit more incentive to do it. But I did it. And the point is that everybody can do something more than we think we can do. And it might take you out of your comfort zone. But as long as you lay down and let people roll over you, they're going to continue to roll over you. And then I started thinking about this, too. In the 1960s, I don't care how you talk about it in terms of astronomical circumstances and the alignment of the stars and the planets. I know that the energy of the entire solar system supported that decade of revolution, and it was a true revolution. You know, it gave birth to the idea in our modern society that we can embrace concepts like love and peace and individual freedom. It got the idea started. We just kind of mucked up the path along the way since the 1960s, and we mucked it up in the 60s as well. But what's happening right now is the same kind of revolution. We are having a revolution again, and the more people who are living above the 50 mark that embrace their power and choose to be a part of the solution rather than a part of the problem, and they choose to be a creator rather than a taker, the more people that step into that role, the more the revolution will turn into an evolution. And that's where we're heading, because the word revolution has the word revolt in it, and that's a really revolting word. But the word evolution has the word evolve in it, and evolve is what we're doing now. We're not revolting anymore, we are evolving. Enlightenment has no choice but to seep in. It's on a path that cannot be stopped. The momentum is so great that you can watch the changes in society every single year. You can witness it. If you choose to see it, you're going to see it everywhere. You're going to hear it in people's conversations. It's everywhere, and it will not stop. But evolution means that people are going to evolve. We're not going to be walking into the departments of our government with torches and burning things down. We're not going to be bracing ourselves up with guns and rifles or anything like that. We're going to be doing it through the process of love. We're going to be doing it with intelligent conversation and intelligent actions that are aligned with the vibration of love. And every person who feels like a victim when they get 13 or 14 traffic or camera tickets, you have a way that you can use your voice. You may feel powerless now, but there's something you can do. Whether it's write a letter, whether it's take pictures, whether it's write